Deep in the heart of England, there's a place of rolling hills and ancient woodlands called Cannock Chase. It's a place of incredible natural beauty, a perfect escape from the noise of modern life. But when the sun goes down and the shadows lengthen, a different story emerges. It's a modern legend, whispered between locals and shared in hushed tones online. A story that defies easy explanation and chills you to the bone. This is the story of the black-eyed child of Cannock Chase. This isn't some dusty tale from a history book. Imagine this. A woman is home alone, her house bordering the quiet woods of the Chase. Suddenly, the silence is shattered by the desperate screams of a child crying for help. She rushes to her window and sees a little girl standing in her garden. She's about to run outside to offer comfort and aid, but then she looks into the child's eyes, and she sees nothing, just two empty, pitch-black voids. A paralyzing, primal fear roots her to the spot. She can't move, can't scream, can only watch as the child simply vanishes into thin air. At the time, her story was mostly dismissed. An overactive imagination, perhaps? A bad dream? It became a minor piece of local folklore, a spooky tale to tell around a campfire. But it wasn't an isolated incident. Over the years, more stories began to surface. The details were always disturbingly similar. A lone child, usually a girl, who appears to be lost or in distress. They plead for help, luring you closer with their cries. And then, the reveal, those soulless, ink-black eyes. For a long time, it remained a local mystery. Then, in 2014, everything changed. The story of the black-eyed child exploded from a regional ghost story into an international phenomenon. It started with a group of teenagers. Looking for a bit of adventure, they decided to camp overnight in the woods. They pitched their tent, surrounded by the familiar, comforting sounds of the forest settling down for the night. But as total darkness fell, a new sound cut through the quiet. It was faint at first, but unmistakable. The sound of a child crying. Concerned, they thought someone must be lost. They unzipped their tent, peering out into the darkness. And there, just a few feet away, stood a young girl. She couldn't have been more than 10 years old. Her clothes looked odd, old-fashioned, and she was deathly pale. She had her hands over her face, and her small shoulders shook with sobs. One of the campers cautiously asked, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The girl slowly, deliberately, lowered her hands from her face. The teenagers froze in sheer terror. Where her eyes should have been, there were only two gaping, black pits. It was like staring into a starless night sky, an endless void. An overwhelming wave of pure dread washed over them. This wasn't a lost little girl. This was something else. Something horribly, fundamentally wrong. Their survival instincts screamed at them to run. They scrambled from the tent, leaving everything behind. Their sleeping bags, their gear, everything. They bolted through the dark woods, not once daring to look back, their hearts hammering against their ribs. They didn't stop running until the distant glow of town lights promised safety. The terror of that moment is something they say they'll never forget. Their terrifying account went viral. Shared across social media and picked up by newspapers, it opened the floodgates. A torrent of similar stories poured in from people who had visited the Chase. Hikers, dog walkers, and families all came forward with their own unsettling encounters. Suddenly, Cannock Chase was on the paranormal map. Investigators, thrill seekers, and the just plain curious flocked to the forest, all hoping, or perhaps dreading, to catch a glimpse of this infamous figure. Photos and videos began to appear online. Most were blurry, grainy, and ultimately inconclusive. A strange shadow here, a fleeting figure there. But each new piece of evidence, real or imagined, just added another layer of mystery and intrigue. The black-eyed child of Cannock Chase had become a global sensation. So what is going on here? What is this entity? Naturally, skeptics have plenty of logical explanations. The power of suggestion is a potent force. Once a story like this gets media attention, people are primed to see what they expect to see. A trick of the light in the dense woods, a shadow moving in your peripheral vision, could easily be misinterpreted as a figure, especially when you're already on edge. Then there's pareidolia, the fascinating psychological phenomenon where our brains are hardwired to find familiar patterns, especially faces, in random shapes. That could explain why people see figures in grainy photos or the bark of a tree. As for the eyes, it could be a simple trick of the light, or perhaps the description of someone suffering from a rare medical condition that causes enlarged pupils. But for those who have actually been there, for those who have stood alone in the chilling silence of the woods and heard that plaintive cry, these rational explanations just don't cut it. They feel hollow, inadequate. Witnesses don't just talk about seeing something, they talk about feeling something. They describe a palpable sense of malice, an unnatural, bone-deep cold that seems to radiate from the figure. They speak of a profound, instinctual fear that goes beyond just being spooked in the dark. This has led to countless theories about the child's origin. Could it be a ghost? The area has a tragic history, including the Babes in the Wood murders of the 1960s. Perhaps this is the restless spirit of a victim, forever wandering the forest. Or is it something older, something more sinister? Some believe it's a demonic entity, drawn to the ancient energy of the forest, using the form of a child as a disguise to lure in unsuspecting victims. Others suggest it's something else entirely, a being from another dimension, a creature we simply have no frame of reference for. To this day, the sightings continue. Cannock Chase, with its beautiful, sun-dappled trails by day, transforms into a place of deep mystery by night. It holds its secrets close, its ancient trees guarding the truth behind the whispers. The black-eyed child remains a terrifying and compelling enigma, a stark reminder that even in our modern, scientific world, there are some shadows that refuse to be explained away, some stories that resist all logic. So if you ever find yourself walking the paths of Cannock Chase after dark, listen closely to the rustling leaves and the sighing wind. You might just hear the faint sound of a child crying for help. The only question is, will you be brave enough to look into their eyes? Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the unexplained, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Stay curious.